Welcome to Spotlight, the podcast where we bring you conversations with African MRI researchers. Our guest today is Dr. Nash. Dr. Nash holds a PhD in medical physics and is a senior lecturer and the director of the Diagnostic Imaging Research Centre in Tamale, Ghana. He has become a driving force in the advancement of MRI technology. I'm genuinely thrilled to have Dr. Nash here with us today. I know him as a dedicated person who not only aims to expand MRI availability, but also seeks to disseminate MRI knowledge at every opportunity he gets. So, without further ado, let's dive into our conversation with Dr. Nash. Hi Nash, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Paulien. How about you?
I'm doing really good, thank you.
Great.
So today I'm going to ask you 5 questions. People are interested in the lives of MRI researchers, so that's why I invited you. I want you to ask you 5 short questions. Is that okay? So the first question is, could you please explain why you're doing MRI research? What inspired you to become an MRI researcher?
Right. That's a good question. There's always an inspiration and a reason why I do what I do here in Ghana. To start with, I discovered MRI during my master's studies, and I found it to be quite fascinating and an interesting technology with vast opportunities to learn and also impact lives. And one other thing I picked up through my study of MRI, apart from this observation of vast opportunities to learn and impact lives, I realized that we don't have MRI physicists in Ghana. So, and I'm one person, I like sort of situation where you pioneer something and you venture into areas where many people do not normally go into. That's how you make impact. So given these two factors, fact that nobody is there in Ghana who is a specialist in MRI, and also the fact that it presents vast opportunities for research, I chose to specialize in MRI at my master's level. So basically, that's what I would say inspired me to choose MRI, to venture into something that nobody else does in Ghana, and it offers vast opportunities to do research than most of the other imaging techniques.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that brings me to the second question. You talked about being a pioneer and going into a field that is quite new. What is the current usage of and availability of MRI in Ghana right now? Because I assume that it's a lot. It's not the same as in Belgium. We have an MRI in almost every hospital right now.
Yeah, that's right. It's not the same as in the case of Belgium. At the moment, Ghana has a total of 19 MRI systems. 19. And 9 of the systems are installed in public hospitals and 10 in private facilities across the country. And at the moment, in the northern part of Ghana, which constitutes 5 regions, there isn't a single MRI machine there operating at the moment. And all these 19 I have mentioned are used purely for clinical purposes. There is hardly any research done in MRI, physics, or clinical MRI. When it also comes to training, there's little to no training in MRI specialization in clinical practice as well. So you often have general radiographers working on MRI at the facilities, health facilities, but there isn't any dedicated MRI system for research in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. And have you been able to change that already a little bit or not?
Yes, I'm working on that because I have mentioned that there are no experts in that area in Ghana. So the very first thing I started off doing was to get others trained in MRI physics. And so since my return to Ghana from the UK, I have been able to push to start the BSc Medical Imaging Technology program, where in the university I work for, Then subsequent to that, I have also gotten 3 others who have done masters in that area currently to, as it were, form a team of MRI experts within the region where I am now. Then on top of that, we are currently at a stage of putting up a center to install a facility for the university, purposely for MRI research, training, and also clinical services, because there isn't any functional MRI facility at the moment in the 5 regions of northern Ghana. And that's what I seek to change. And so I have systematically started the program to train, mentored people to form a team with, and then establishing the center to install the facility there to provide more training and clinical services and research.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. So what would be your ultimate goal? Is it to have more research in those 5 areas in Ghana and have an MRI there? Is that what your goal is?
Yeah, the goal is to have a center here, which is the biggest and the most cosmopolitan city amongst all of them. And right here, we have many people who can afford to pay for MRI services, because that's the other angle to the whole project. Can people afford to pay for the services? Mm-hmm. Do we have stable power supply at the moment to keep it operated? Mm-hmm. So those are the considerations to start with. When we start operating, we can then start thinking about low-field MRI systems. At the moment, Hyperfine has such a project they are working on, which are MRI systems tailored for our setting in Africa. So once we're able to do that, the next step is to then see how we can get support to procure the Hyperfine systems for such localities, mm-hmm. Where the cost of the MRI services could be affordable to the people there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hear one of the challenges already, like the cost. Are there other challenges that you've encountered, like personally, but also while doing your work?
Yes. The thing is that over here, it doesn't seem to be like the role of imaging is well and clearly defined in the context of healthcare. So even those who appear to be in the healthcare system don't seem to understand that concept fully. So for example, when I started working towards the program to train, I had issues with the faculty at the moment. I mean, at that time where I was, that was at the medical school. The understanding was that that program should sit well in the medical school. And it's supposed to be medical doctors who should do the training. And later on, I clearly understood that they were confusing radiology with radiography and medical physics, where a medical doctor doesn't come in at all. So yes, I had a bit of a challenge, which was an administrative challenge. And I had to move that program out of that school to a different faculty, mm-hmm. where it was welcomed, and then we had it accredited and started. Now, beyond that also, there isn't funding at all for what I do. So in most cases, I use my own funds. If it has to do with traveling, if it has to do with procurement of any sort of resources to support that, mm-hmm. budget. And the third thing is that because there isn't already a body of experts in that area, I seem not to have collaborators within Ghana to work with. So mm-hmm. if there is any project I'm doing, I know I spend a lot of time and energy doing it alone. Yeah. So those are the challenges, and I think over time I'm getting over them, because I'm now extending the collaborations beyond the borders of Ghana, and that's how I discovered Uduna and colleagues. And since then, things have been different. And I'm seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm hoping that we would achieve the aim set out at the beginning of my journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how do you think that collaborating or networking can help you in Ghana?
The first thing is that other people get to hear my story and understand the context of our problems in MRI research and MRI access. Already, I have been given several platforms to talk about training programs myself and Uduna and colleagues are working on to train MRI experts in Ghana and elsewhere in Africa. Now, if we build that network of experts, the next stage would be accessibility to MRI systems. So networking and collaborations could open the door for funding and even to other institutions and organizations that have interest in investing in our setting. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of opportunities here for them to invest in. As I've mentioned already, the center I'm working on is being funded by an investor, a company which is owned by a non-Ghanaian. Mm-hmm. And so he understood the context and he saw the opportunity therein and is ready to invest fully in that project. So mm-hmm. This is just one of many ways collaborations can help narrow the gap that current availability and access in Ghana and Africa.
You were talking about mentors. I think mentors are super important. Maybe young students can see you as their mentor. Is there a specific advice that you would give to your younger self or younger students in general?
Oh, yes. What I often tell students is that it's often rewarding to go into areas most people don't want to go into. If I were to be reincarnated, I would always come back to do what I'm doing because it's easy to make a noticeable impact because you have very few people or no one in that area doing what you are doing. That's the first thing. Secondly, to make such a decision would mean you would have to be mentally strong and resilient because if you are someone who is not mentally resilient, you cannot forge ahead. You definitely stop at one point. Mm-hmm. And finally, it's never to give up. Keep a positive attitude, be optimistic, no matter how things turn out. Be always sure that if you keep pushing, keep knocking at the same door, it will surely open one day. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm getting to now in my career.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So that's what I was talking.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Keep knocking on that same door and it will open someday. That's what I will remember from this conversation. Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you or someone you know has a story to share, a unique perspective, or if you simply want to connect with us, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always on the lookout for fascinating guests to feature on the show. You can drop us an email at info.camera.mri@gmail.com.